another minute. And Sumant, I shared the flow of the program
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
on Google Drive. Let me know if you got it. All the questions are
Yeah, I just got it. Yeah.
Sweet. Satishji, Mithilesh, everyone, we good? All right. Namaste, everyone, and good evening. I'm Satvik Saini, and I will be the official host tonight for the third official webinar in the Hindu YUVA webinar series. Tonight, we're talking all about innovation and entrepreneurship in the digital space. Thank you all for joining today. And first and foremost, I would like to talk a little bit about Hindu YUVA and what exactly this organization stands for. Hindu YUVA is a student organization with chapters at 35 universities across the United States, with a vision to preserve, promote, and protect Hindu Dharma. We host a variety of activities for the student community, which includes, but is not limited to, yoga, games, discussions, celebrating our famous festivals like Holi and Diwali, and conduct many other Seva volunteer efforts. Along with this, currently due to the COVID pandemic, which has been a tragic and sad situation for many individuals, we have launched a student support network and helpline to help those in need. More of that information will be in my closing remarks to have more information regarding that helpline. And now let's get into our third webinar in the national series around youth and careers, where today we'll be talking about digital disruption. Now, in today's world, the internet and digital products have changed the way we interact with people, surroundings, and businesses on a day-to-day basis. This transformation is relatively new and still impacts us, all of us. Now, these products like the iPhone, TV, and much Internet of Things have changed the world. Now, what is next? We're in 2020. Thus, today, we will unravel the journey of digital disruption with our high-achieving panelists. This includes current trends, emerging trends, new business models, and much more. Our panelists are well-versed in this field of innovation and entrepreneurship. They will take us on this journey on how internet digital products are changing the world and how we can innovate in a time of crisis. And more so, today, this impacts us even more with the global pandemic going on, which has caused chaos among businesses and people in general. Thus, we want to understand how business can adapt and innovate during times like this. This webinar today will consist of a small presentation by the panelists and then an interactive session with Q&A so we can really pick the brains of our distinguished panelists and really understand what's going on. So we want to make this session as interactive as possible after the presentation. Without further ado, I would like to take my time to welcome the amazing panelists. First, we have Dr. Sridhar Talankiji, CEO of Pandit View Software and Southwest Sambhag Sangachalak. Thank you so much for joining us, Sridharji. Along with Sridharji, we have Bipin Agarwal, a serial investor and venture capitalist, currently the CEO of Avivante Solutions. Thank you, Bipinji, as well. And last but not least, we have Sumant Talanki, principal investor of Chanakya Investments. Tonight, these three amazing panelists will take us on this journey. So let's begin. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for doing this and giving us an insightful journey on digital disruption. Sridharji, Bipinji, take it away.
Thank you, Satvik. But I'm not a doctor, but thank you very much. Okay. Namaste, all. I mean, to start off, I have a question for you guys. Can any one of you live without your iPhone more than a day? The answer is probably no. Do you ever wonder why? Because the iPhone disrupted the entire digital arena. Let's talk about how digital disruptions affected our lives and how can we capitalize on it. You guys are so smart. I mean, Bipinji and myself want to stir the tiger up in you. Here is a couple of lines from one of my favorite Hindi geets that I felt was relevant to today's topic. निर्माणों की पावन युग में हम चरित्र निर्माण ना भूले, स्वार्थ साधना की आंधी में वसुधा का कल्याण ना भूले. Actual meaning is we should not forget the character building while working on building up our success and development. While fulfilling our own dreams, we should not forget about the well-being of the society. The Vasudha Ka Kalyan means. And now, if we apply this into the context of innovation and disruptions and entrepreneurship, it means that when we recruit the people, integrity is more important than intelligence, because intelligence can be acquired. The second, if you see the second line of the Geet, Vasudha Ka Kalyan, I mean, in the context of business and entrepreneurship, you need to take care of your ecosystem of stakeholders, which includes shareholders, employees, customers, and vendors. So let's jump into what are the main trends are happening now behind the digital transformation. One is the social media, mobile technologies, machine learning, big data, data analytics, predictive analytics, of course, the cloud computing. IoT, again, the big thing, Internet of Things, where the software talks to machines and machines will talk to software in the waves. And what is the emerging technology now? What is emerging? As we all know that what is the current trend, but the emerging, if you see now, is the 3D technology is happening now. Now they're building almost anything now through the 3D technology and robotics and artificial intelligence. You might have seen the explosion of the Siri and all the artificial intelligence apps in the digital arena now. So let's take some examples of on the digitally modifying one, especially how we can complement our physical businesses. The good example is Nike is working with Apple to expand the digital frontier of the wearables. They're putting the microchips into the sole of the shoe soles so that you can monitor how many steps you are taken, what is your pulse, and so many other fitness parameters that are measuring, and they're sending the data to your iPhone and your laptop. They're working on it. That's a good example. And a lot of robots and smartphones, smart watches especially, are the future of the Tesco, where they want to improve your shopping experience through your smartwatch. That's another example. You may know that about from the Tesco labs. And you might have seen recently about the Miami International Airport, how they are kind of taking the advantage of the mobile apps, how they're breaking the cultural barriers, bringing all the people together, for the language assistance, as well as there's so many, personalizing the travelers' experiences in the Miami International Airport. So that it not only just language translation, there are a lot of shopping experience, a lot of flight tracking, navigational beacon. I mean, all these beacons are designed to suit your needs. Another good example is department stores in Japan. They're using the robots as the greeters so that they can greet you in local language. Within Japan, there are so many local languages are there, local slangs are there, dialects are there. So based on the person who's coming, they have so much of technology. They are greeting the customers in their own local language. Another example, similar to FICO score, if you want to find out your employee happiness or your customer experience or customer happiness, you can measure it now. So the IBM Social Board has come up. There's so many apps like what is your eminence score? What is your reputation score in the public? If you want to know that, so they're bringing a lot of social dashboards. So to bring all these ones into the taking the leadership, getting all this to be done, we need to take so many. We had to be mobile, use a mobile technology. We need to be flexible, inclusive of all the data, take the help of the social media so that we can bring this new employer experience. As you know, that these are the many, many examples in the employee experience. If you want to just to share your information, you'd use a Facebook, whereas you want to run a campaign or you want to run a revolution, not a digital revolution, you can use a Twitter handles on all that one. Or you want to go in a bigger way in networking and an experience, the LinkedIn is doing that one. Similarly, there are so many innovation ideas. You want to make sure that whether my idea is good or not, whether the idea is big or small, good or bad, or is feasible, not feasible. There are so many, the tools are there where you can put your idea, say that you can ask for the voting, where I can say that this my idea is good or not, how much score is coming. And this called, there's so many, you can crowdsource your innovative idea so that you can run the surveys, you can run the polls, you can get the feedback, you can run the feasibilities. You can do so many things. So what are the business models? I mean, they're driving the disruption. A lot of people, you know, that the old way, I mean, the taxi business, you know, how the taxi business has changed to Uber is basically a supply chain. The digital supply chain of information is nothing but the Uber. Same way, all the hotels now, the Airbnb, the way is running without even owning any physical building. They're giving the services to the customers through Airbnb. Similarly, training, they don't own anything training content or they don't own the trainers, but they are able to enable the complete platform for the training through LinkedIn. Okay. Similarly, in the funding way, there is one company called Kickstarter. Based on your ideas, generally, traditionally, bank is going to give the money for your idea. Now the Kickstarter has given, you can say that funded with the Kickstarter, they're all funding a lot of your ideas so that you can make your dream into reality. Similarly, Apple Pay. In fact, here I would like to, ask Bipinji because he has done many, give some more ideas about this slide. Bipinji, if you can give some more information about the funding of the ideas.
Sure. Well, I think the Kickstarter, what you pointed out, is interesting venue or the source for raising the fund. But the channels are everywhere. It's just the Kickstarter. There's just so many, what you call the funds of the funds, so many exchanges which are now available where you can go and raise money. Every single state, if you are in US, they have these local organizations. There is a Thai organization, like for example, in Colorado, we have a Rocky Mountain VC Fund, the Colorado Impact Fund. Every state has that. So a lot of these social organizations give you an incredible opportunity to go socialize your idea and find the like-minded people who are willing to fund your idea. And we'll talk a little bit more about funding, which at least what I find in my work, funding is not just based on the strength of the idea. It's also a huge function of who you are, right? Your integrity, your humility, your conviction, your willingness to work hard is so much more important than just the idea, because idea will change, but you will not, right? So I think you want to capitalize on your soft assets, which is I'm willing to work hard, I'm honest, I'm going to take care of the people. There is some human elements to it, there's some social elements to it. I'm going to hire the people with integrity, and things like that. We kind of miss it, but these are extremely important. I was on a panel like just last week. We were looking at all Colorado companies. There are 400 companies we evaluated. The people who were bidding, they were saying that they were measuring the social impact of these companies on the community, and that was one of the key criteria to give them the funding, because there are now so many social consciousness-based funding. So we'll talk more about it, but thanks, Sridhar, and I just wanted to add what we have been seeing.
Thank you, Vipinji. Yeah. So now I'm going to take some few statistics, but I'm not going to go through each statistics. I'm going to share this PowerPoint presentation, how the the digital is shaping the world. So there are so many statistics, as you know, that the population, how many mobile users are there, how many internet users are there. So I'm not going to go through all the details, but I'm going to share this information through our coordinators so that they can share this information. The share of the total internet time versus the number of users by country and all the details. Then I want to go to the more like what are the new e-commerce platforms. Take the example of the Shopify market. They're having the almost $46 billion revenue, market capitalization. So for all these things, the innovation is the key driver. Unless innovation, sometimes the disruption of the whole current technology has to come in place so that we can make it available, make it presentable, along with as soft assets, as Vipinji mentioned. So in the old world, what is the balance of power? In the old world, if you have the real estate, the building, then that is more powerful. But in the more than the soft asset, more than the human resources or intelligence or the soft assets of the individuals. So that is the old world. But now the new world has shifted now completely. Then the new world is the human resources, your intellectual resources, intangible resources, intellectual properties, soft assets. These are more valuable than compared to your actual tangible assets. So how to start this innovation? There is a lot of people, they know how to start the innovation. I know the first step is always you have to generate the ideas in the digital or wherever your area you're working on it. The good example always, the small way to go is if I ask you a small question that what is a 5 plus 5 equals to, yeah, you'll say that there's only one answer, which is 10. But if I ask you how to get the 10 in how many ways, like x plus y equals to 10, or question mark plus question mark equals to 10, how many ways you can come into 10, you will say that jillion combinations. You can say 1 plus 9 or 8 plus 2, or you can say fractions, you can say negative numbers. It's go combinations is you open up. So you generate the ideas, then you select those ideas, then run all this feasibility study through the incubators or through the friends. There are so many methods are there. Then you implement it, then you run some against your idea, everything against your KPI, key performance indicators, so that you can launch your idea and measure it. So the goal is to convert your idea into value to yourself and to the society.
Sridharji, can I just add one thing here? Yes. That idea versus value, right? So a lot of us as an entrepreneur get disheartened when we think about an idea and somebody has already built the company around that idea. And I think that is a mistake. The good example of what you just gave, Shopify versus Amazon, right? Both both are trying to sell the internet things on the internet. Amazon has one business model, and Shopify has a very totally different business model. Right? One being the corporate, other being just taking the small businesses, giving them the infrastructure so they can be successful on the internet. So the reason I mentioned, because the example you gave, 5 plus 5 versus 1 plus 9, when you get an idea, just explore a lot of different ways how you can get to that value proposition. It doesn't have to be just because somebody else has implemented it. There's no reason to get disheartened. Think about more creative way, more ways you can create values for the stakeholders, uh, like what Shopify did. It says, well, we're not going to own everything. We're going to let people run the business and things like that. So that's an idea, is a concept, can be implemented in a lot of different ways. And we'll go through that example, like I'm an investor in this company called Geology, that how we plan to compete with Uber, right? Uber is a $50 billion company. We're just starting. We think that we have a better model. We should be able to compete with Uber. So don't get disheartened with what is already implemented. Think about how you can take chances, how you can change what is already going on and create the value. Shidaji, back to you.
Excellently mentioned. Yeah. Thank you so much, Vipinji. Yeah. Okay. So what are the things we need? So first one is we need the individual skills and knowledge, plus the technical skills, and we need the business related and digital literacy. We all know about what are the interpersonal skills we need. You already know, because most of you you've done masters and PhDs, so you know that what are the technical skills are related. The most important we would like to cover is the business and digital literacy. On the business and digital literacy, we need the industry knowledge where we are in, and we need to understand the model, the business model, and the strategy. So then we need to have some kind of metrics, whether we have performance metrics, and understand the preferences, understand the requirements, understand the needs of the customers where we are serving to. Of course, the digital literacy, we know, working environment of virtual, mobile, and social way, how the corporate technology is different than the consumer technology. So in this business literacy and digital literacy, I would like to Bipinji to add more onto this information. This is very important information, so Bipinji.
Thank you. So there is business, there is digital, and there is interpersonal. So Dr. Vednanda is available here. Yeah. He's my role model in terms of humility. I have embraced that as a key characteristics. The humility and integrity is key part of anything which I either start or anything which I invest in, right? So never underestimate the power of humility and integrity in starting a business or actually doing anything in your professional life. Now, when it comes to business and digital literacy, incredible opportunity, right? And most of us, the good thing is that because of internet, because of the way the social media is working, the crowdsourcing is working, if you have an idea and you want to get more thoughts on it, people are willing to share, and it's making a big difference. We are seeing, like, for example, we started this company called Geology, right, which competes with Uber in some sense. So the way it competes with Uber is like we do a ride share. You can call our but we made it as all green car, right? This is what I was talking about, how to differentiate. So all of our cars are electric, right? So he says, okay, so we can easily compete with Uber on one thing, which is our cars are electric, but then also at the same price point, right? So this is an example of how you can innovate, compete in the existing environment and create the value. Then we took it to the next level where we says, okay, rideshare is one thing, but then also People have this apartment complex. Why do they need to own a car when they're going to drive it only maybe once a day or 3 times a week? So we started putting our car into these apartment complexes. So why I'm going a little deeper into that idea, about what I'm trying to say is that when you have an idea, when you have a concept, and you want to explode it, figure out different ways to create values, there are so many channels now available. The friend circle, all these states and all these cities have this organization called meetups, where you can go and socialize your idea and get things from other people. You have to worry about the intellectual property, which is important. But most of the time, just because you are sharing your idea with somebody, that doesn't mean they can replicate. Because they can hear the idea, they don't understand the underlying thinking, the critical thinking which you have to do. So the patent and intellectual property, all that is important, but we shouldn't get bogged down into it. It's just more about socializing your idea, getting the feedback from the ecosystem. Mostly the users, the people who you think are likely to use the system, they're the one who give you the best idea, right? Like in my company, this Avante, our product kept evolving from doing something very simple to where it is now. An entire evolution of this product came from the clients, not from us. We're just implementing their ideas. So keeping your eyes and ears open in terms of how your idea is being embraced by the ecosystem, which is the users, your partners, and all of that, and taking that feedback and incorporating that into business is far more important than writing a better code, right? So, Sridharji, back to you.
Thank you. Yeah. So similarly, I mean, I got one example where one of the airline manufacturer company has stopped the production of one model, and they're moving to the another model. They keep exploring about how to use the similar engine parts or similar forgings to use another flight, so that they can another make of the manufacturing, so that we can optimize these engine parts. So as Bipinji said, thank you, Bipinji, on the business literacy and digital literacy. So as Bipinji mentioned, a business model shows that how the value is created, delivered, and captured. Now, through the operations, we are going to deliver this value proposition to the customer, and all these strategies has to be evolved before, we go to take this one to the customer. So we need to understand the business. That is the kind of a goal before you start any product or any idea into the business. Are we afraid of failure? Yes, the failure will happen. It might happen, or it may not happen. As Swami Vivekananda ji always said, no, even if you fail for 1,000 times, try for 1,001 times. So if you can recognize this one, can you identify this one? Anyone? This is the first version of the iPhone. And this was a failure in the beginning. Nobody used it. Now imagine now what is the iPhone sales of the current model. Again, never be afraid of failures. As Thomas Edison said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that do not work. Okay, so the goal is innovate now. Keep going. As Mani Nandaji always says, Charaiveti, Charaiveti. Keep going, keep going. Thank you. So back to you, Satvik.
Thank you so much, Sridharji, Bipinji, for that wonderful, insightful presentation. Now is the opportunity we've all been waiting for. The interactive QA session that gives us the opportunity to pick the brains of our panelists. So please, for these questions, if you're on the Zoom call, please send a private message to Sai, and he can filter that question and send them over to the hosts, myself and Sumit, and we can ask them for you. And if you're following along on the Facebook and YouTube streams, please type those questions in the streams and we'll get to those as well. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the Q&A session. First and foremost, Bipinji, this is a question more for you since you're a serial investor and you're investing in a lot of other people's ideas. As an investor, what convinces you to invest in that entrepreneur's idea? And vice versa, what are some red flags you see that stop you or hold you back?
Thank you. It's a great question, and I'm glad that's the first question you asked, right? Because we see lots of ideas, and we call them ideas or dime a dozen. Right? Lots of ideas. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean you have a business. So the number one thing which I look for is the person. I invest in the people, not in the idea. Okay. If the person has the integrity, they have a good work ethics, they are willing to work hard, they can change their idea and create a successful business. And so you invest in the people. So that's in the very early stage, right? When we are trying, when people like me, who are going out there and trying to solicit the funds and understand the viability of business. So when a lot of people do that, that's what we look for. Is this person, can you invest? Do you trust that he'll take your money and make a good use of that money? Doesn't matter he'll be successful or fail, right? It's just would he be a good steward of your money? So that's in the stage one, very, very early stage. When you go to the next stage, what we call it the Series A, or we call it the angel round and things like that, that's when you start looking at the viability of the idea. Does he have a right business model? But more so, is he willing to accept the input? Is he willing to pivot based on what he's going to hear from he or she's going to hear from the clients and the partners and things like that? Can he pivot, right? And if they can pivot, that they will. So in a nutshell, it's about the person. It's not about the idea. You invest in the people, not in the business idea.
Awesome. Thank you, Bipinji, for a great answer.
Perfect. Yeah, so the next question is for both Sridharji and Bipinji. So the question is, how did you roll with your first company? Because a lot of investors have trouble in finding the needed capital to start their businesses.
Sridharji?
Yeah. When I started the first company, we had taken one of the few clients' ideas where the client was suffering. So we taken as a challenge project. So this company is a computer wholesale supplier. So they sell close to anywhere from $750 million to $1 billion worth of computer software. And they're having the huge cycle counting, huge inventories. They divided the ABC analysis. And so we identified that issue. And we said, okay, using SAP software, we can get those, identify which is A and B, C, and fast moving versus non-moving. So we took it as a project and started a company that we are very good in analyzing this kind of stock evaluations using SAP software. It's called Insight. So when we take that idea to them, they said they refused to pay the amount. They said, show the value. So we took it as a challenge project, means challenge. Unless you see the value, don't give the portion of the benefit. So they finally agreed that 6% of the whatever we save the money, the 6% of the money will be given to us. Don't believe that that was a huge success for us. So we are able to identify the non-stock movements, non-moving stock items. It goes up to the millions of dollars, and we are able to save that much, and we got the good amount of one. So that became a seed capital for our first project with all our partners. That was my journey. Then again, keep on entered into many one, including the airline industry. What we are doing today for when the Boeing kind of stopped the production of one production, so we are able to do it. Analyze the products for how this can be interchanged to other models. Thank you.
Right. And if I can add to it, Sridharji, it's a whole spectrum, Suman. if you're lucky, you are in a business situation, like Shidiji explained, you get into a client situation, they explain a problem, and you think it is a problem which everybody is having, and then it can turn that into a business. So that's always a great way, because you have a ready-made client, and you are building based on you're building a business based on idea which already the need is validated, right? The only thing which is initially validated, how's the value proposition and how you're going to scale. But then there is another spectrum where you totally new idea, right? Where you're not solving a problem for a client, you're solving a problem for the market, right? So Amazon was a good example, right? Even in our situation, when you have something like that, where the demand, the need, or the idea didn't come from a client, but it came from your perception or your insight, that what is the problem in the market and how you're going to solve. Now you are in a lot of trouble, right? Because now you need the money in order to seed that idea. And there, again, there are so many different channels, right? Where at Geology or Forte, some of these companies, we raise the money right up front, right? To foster the idea and then build the business. But then there are some ideas there where it's not ready for the market. You're going to have an idea, you have to build a product, or you have to build a solution for next year, 2 years, or 3 years before the market is ready to adopt it, right? So you're going to build a product, you're going to build a solution. So how do you do that, right? Finding a long-term investors who are willing to wait for 3 years before your product will hit the market is a lot harder, right? Sometimes you're lucky, you know the people, and they will invest money in you, not in the idea, and then they give you a chance. So we face the same issue as this current company which I have, like Avante, right? So we were building we wanted to build a big platform for in the healthcare space, right? If I was doing it as a consulting company, I knew that it'll cost somewhere about $10 to $15 million. I didn't have that money to invest in this thing, and nobody was going to invest $15 million in the idea which is not proven yet. So that's where you have to be creative, right? So we came out with a business model, interesting model where we were going to build the software. We hired this offshore company which is going to build the software. But as you all know, in any software, 15-20% is development and 70-80% is really testing, right? So what we did, which I still can't believe that it happened, we said, okay, how do we do the testing without spending the money, right? So we went to our community and we took the moms, right? The moms who were at home. They want to transition into a professional workforce, maybe 2 years down the road, or 1 year down the road, or 3 years down the road. We said, we're going to train these moms in manual testing and teach them automation, and they will test our software. So all we ask for a year worth of commitment minimum, right? So we can train them for 3 to 4 months, 6 months, and then next 6 months, they're going to really work on our product and give us the value. We've trained so far about 100 people, right? And we still have 20 people that we just maintain that. So the reason I mentioned that depending on the idea, how it originated, how soon you can market, the funding mechanism can change, and you have to be creative. Reach out to your friends, not relatives, because it's always dangerous to take money from relatives. But reach out to your friends who believe in your potential, reach out to your clients who believe in your potential, or just think innovative. See if you can get free money. Kickstarter, right, is a good example. Or crowdsourcing, where you are willing to give a small number of shares, right? And they always talk about the story of this guy who came in and painted the office at Facebook. Now he's worth about $20 million because they didn't have money, so they gave him the stocks in order to paint their office. So be creative. It's okay to give some portion of your company in order to do what you want to do. So a lot of different, there is no one recipe. I think you just have to be creative in your situation and make sure that you can go to the next step. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Sumant, for a great question, and Bipinji and Sridharji for an answer. Now, moving on to the next question. This is for all three of you, Sridharji, Bipinji, and Sumant, who have all started their individual companies. It's a question from the audience from Prayer Oberoi. What are the pros and cons of going to an angel investor versus a VC firm to raise funds for your company?
Sure. So they're very different. Very different criteria when you go to the angel, versus when you go to the VC. Okay. Typically, an angel investor will invest a smaller amount of money, at a low valuation, right? So in our community, for example, and it varies, right? So in Colorado, for example, an angel investment typically means the valuation somewhere between 1 to 3 million. When you go to San Francisco, an angel investor could invest anywhere from 3 to 5 million valuation. VC, on the other hand, is a different animal, right? They want to see your company more mature, right? There are lots of VC won't touch you unless you have a revenue. You have $1 million in revenue, or you can show them the potential for $1 million revenue, then the VC will come. They need the validation of your idea, where somebody's paying for your idea in terms of the client, and you get generating the revenue. So two different stages of the company. Before angel comes a friends and family round, right? Where you are investing your own money, or you're taking the money from your friends, as I said, not relatives, where you take the company to a certain level, maybe then get the angel funding, and then you get in the VC. And within VC also, there are a lot of different blocks, right? There are early stage VC company. There is a Series A or matured. And it is mostly a function of how much money they invest, they're willing to invest. So early stage VC, for example, may invest somewhere $500,000 to $1 million. When you go to a later stage VC, they're looking more for 3 to 5 million. And then there's what you call as a mezzanine round type of people who are willing to invest anywhere from 5 to $20 million. So depending on where you are in the evolution of your business.
Yeah, I would like to just add a couple of, completely echo with Bipinji. In the beginning, always you kind of go into the catch-22 situation where unless you have the capital, then you cannot raise the revenue. Unless you have the revenue, you go into like a really catch-22 situation. So that's where the angel investors will come into the picture, or your own money. So, that's what I would like to add, that in the beginning, the angel investors are coming into the picture. Thank you.
I also would like to add about VCs. I feel like VCs also create benchmarks or goals for you to attain. So to unlock the next round of money, or to finish with the current series you've attained from that VC. Also, VCs, they take a pretty good chunk of your company for lower capital, but they provide you like a good ecosystem, a good network for you to build everything off of. That's what I found very when I encountered with this.
Thank you, Sridharji, Bipinji, and Sumant for answering that question. Hopefully that answered your question, Parth. Sumant, you got the next one.
Sure. This question's from Amok Tate, and this is for both of you as well, actually, for both Sridharji and Bipinji. So the question is, what's the difference between business technology and consumer technology?
Yeah.
It's a great question, and Sridhar, I think you can jump in. So here's what's going on, right? When what we call is a B2B versus B2C, right? Depending on who you are going to sell to, right? The example of Nike and Apple, which Sridharji gave earlier, is you're trying to sell it to the consumer, right? It's an extremely hard thing to do. And the reason for that is because the customer acquisition is extremely expensive, right? You need a lot of money in order to be able to expand your market share, right? Look at example company, there is Wayfair. I don't know if you've heard about that company. They advertise a lot about their furniture. They still, like few billion in revenue, they still lose about a couple of $100 million every quarter, right? Because they're a B2C company. Very, very hard to get funding for any B2C company, because they just don't, most VCs, most people who are willing to fund, they just not willing to put their money. So you have to have a huge connection, connections who already have the money in the VC world, or or the private equity world, mostly in the VC world, where they all have a lot of money and they can fund extremely hard, and also the success rate is very low. I don't know if you guys all remember, in 2000 there was a company called Webvan, right, which came out. It is about $1 billion. This was the guy who came from, I think, Arthur Anderson or something like that, created that company to deliver the stuff to home, and then it failed, it folded, right? It's just because the consumer is very hard. So most, the B2B on the other hand, okay, is a lot easier, but also there's a whole spectrum, right? Who is the business you are selling to? So are you selling to a business which is the small business, medium business, large business? What kind of sales force you're going to build? Are you going to sell it to the aggregators? You're going to sell it to the distributors and things like that. So, but it's still there. If you can have a right business model in terms of how you're going to take care of your support costs, how you're going to take care of the sales cost, I think the B2B business are little easier than B2C. I don't know if I answered your question, but so feel free to ask for clarification. But Sridharji, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with. I mean, especially the B2B, business to business, is easier and easy to measure it. Also, a lot of one-to-one interaction will be available in the beginning while you're growing the company, and also getting the key. Meeting the expectations on the business side is easier compared to the business to consumer, because there's too many variables at the end. So very difficult to find out whether the customer is happy or not. In the case of business to business, it's a little bit easier to find out the client satisfaction. Back to you.
Thank you, Sridharji and Bipinji. And now I had an interesting question regarding, we talked about financials in the presentation and the ability for a company to make profit. The conversation of Uber has been a lot regarding their operating costs have been far greater than their available gross profit. So they're actually losing a lot of money. So this begs the question regarding Uber and as a general in companies that are like this, like Grubhub, DoorDash, food delivering services, or ride shares. Will they ever be profitable? And if not, how are they still have so much investor backup in a way?
It's a great question, and I think this is important. I think when people are going to evaluate your company for investment, they're going to look at what we call as a break-even point, right? So if you are losing money, because we all lose money when you are starting a company, and not going to be a profitable company day one unless you're building a what we call as a consulting company, right? The question is, where is the break-even point? Uber is a great example. They're still losing money, but Uber is going to be a money printing machine. They will make so much money, they won't know what to do with it, right? And the rationale for that is because the way they have built the ecosystem, they just will have too much control. And also, if you look at Uber, very similar to Amazon, that Uber logistic is going to come out, Uber trucks will going to come out, and things like that. So they have Uber Eats is already there. They're number 2 in the country now. So, but I think from a pure VC and funding perspective, financial perspective, you're looking at a break-even point, right? So, like my company, Girology, we're losing money, right? Avante, we're losing money. And that's okay, so long as we can effectively communicate at what point of time we are going to be profitable, right? But before we can talk about profit, there are some thresholds, like when would you start getting certain amount of revenue? When are you going to have an operating cost, which is break-even cost, where your operating cost can be covered by this thing? But then comes another point that, well, I still need money, even if I can meet my operating cost with the revenue, I still can go raise a lot of money because I want to invest in sales and marketing. So if I want to expand my business, I can still raise money. So
Maybe I can do it here.
Oh, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. Sorry.
This I would like to add one more thing to the what.
Just don't open it. Don't open it. Don't open it.
Yeah.
Don't open it.
So as Bipinji mentioned that the ecosystem also, I mean, even though you're making the current loss for the current year, so are we increasing the number of customers? Are we increasing in the ecosystem of Uber? I mean, the customers and the number of taxis and number of different kinds of services. They're expanding their geographical locations. So there are so many other factors are coming into the picture. Are you increasing any annual maintenance contracts? Are you coming out any different way? Or increasing the customer satisfaction? So these all soft assets will come into picture so before you make that cross the breaking point. Thank you.
Thank you, Bipinji and Sridharji. Sumant, you got the next one.
Yeah, thank you. So this is for both of you, for Sridharji and Bipinji as well. So the
Sumant, I think we lost you. No worries, we'll move on to the next one. Sumant, you there?
I think I can't hear the Sumant one. Maybe you can.
This is Vedananda, and I simply want to make a very quick comment. Hindu YUVAs, you are brilliant people. And today what you have heard, it really is a treat. As the Vice Chancellor, Director of my own center, permitting PhD, MS students and MBA in my classes and having listened to many business people, I think what these two people have given you as pointers, you may not be going to Shark Tank and you may not be seeking millions of dollars, innovative kind of ideas that you have for that money. But I hope that these pointers can help. And I think these two, they are just absolutely brilliant people. Having known them for some time, they are not only very accomplished, but they are the best human beings. So if there is any issue that you have after this program, don't hesitate to reach out to them. They are accessible. They are very, very gracious, and it will be wonderful to reach them and talk with them. And on my part, to Hindu YUVA, congratulations for doing this webinar and for these two great speakers. Deepest gratitude for sharing these wonderful ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nanda.
Thank you, Maninandaji.
Thank you, Maninandaji.
Thank you.
Sumant, I think you're back on. You got this one.
Yeah, so the next question is, so how do you prioritize the stakeholders of your business? How would you rank anyone that affected your business, like an employee to your client to your investor?
That's a great question, Suman. Thank you. So number one thing, at least for me, is the people, my people, meaning the people who are the employee. Then comes the client. If you take care of your people as an entrepreneur, you're seeding an idea, they will go overboard to make sure that the client is taken care of. And a lot of time what happens, we have our priority in reverse. We don't realize that, oh my God, this client is hurting, this is what they want, let's just focus on that. And that becomes the number one priority. And what we forget, that the way you access those people, the way you deliver the value to them is through your people. So if your people are not taken care of, they feel like they're being undermined, you will not succeed. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I think it was last week, I took some of my girls, these interns, onto a client call. And you can understand these are moms, right? They're afraid. They haven't spoken to the client in the business setting in their life. So before we got them there, the prep call, I said, first of all, you have to understand that I am here to cover you. You will not be able to say anything wrong because it doesn't matter what you say, I will back you up, right? You can see the smile and the confidence level of these people. That means, and then they will go overboard to make sure that they're very conscious, they're very respectful, and they will do everything possible to take care of your client. So client is the outcome, people are your process, focus on the process, focus on and then the client gets taken care of. That's how I prioritize. Investors are interesting. I won't worry about them because they don't want to be taken care of, right? Only thing they care for you to be successful in your business, right? If your people are happy, if your clients are happy, investors are always happy because they know what's going on, right? So for me, the one measure is like, when these people who leave, are they still serving you as a company? I get a lot of, what you call is referral, and when they go out and they talk to their friends, you're getting free marketing. Just because they left doesn't mean they don't love you anymore, right? And that will depend on how did you take care of them when they were with you, right? People first, customers second, investors, don't worry. They're investing in you because they want to make sure you're taking care of your people and then taking care of your customers.
Excellent, Bipinji. So I completely agree on that one. And as you said, the people are the key one. And my favorite Hindi song, Nirmanon ki pavan yug mein charitra ka nirman na bhule. So if I convert that into business in the beginning, I mentioned that the integrity is more important than the intelligence, because intelligence can be acquired. So if you have the good employees, as Bipinji said, these employees, through these employees, intelligence can be acquired and the clients can be taken care, so that the revenue will be flown in and investors are taken care. So as you well said, the people are the important. And among the stakeholders, again, the employees will go first. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridharji and Bipinji. And we could pick your guys' brains for hours. Seriously, this is amazing stuff. But we're approaching the end of the conversation here. And I have one final question and last remarks from all three of you. And then and I apologize if we missed anyone's question. Please forward it to me and Sumanth, and we can have this forwarded later after the session to Sridharji, Bipinji, and Sumanth accordingly. Finally, this last question. As entrepreneurs, all three of you, there's times you have gone through highs and lows. What are some things that, regarding your companies or just overall industry, that keep you up at night, that stop you from sleeping peacefully in your bed?
Yeah, well, I think it's, again, I think these are so incredible questions. And we always go through the lows and highs, right? More lows when you are an entrepreneur, right? Because things will not work. You are always looking for money. You're always looking for the people. You're always looking for the evolution of your idea. The number one thing which I do, which I believe has served me very, very well, be honest with your own people. Don't try to hide. Don't try to pretend that everything is fine when it is not, because then they don't know how to help you. Right? The thing which is even beyond that, the thing which has served me very, very well is that don't lose focus of the fact that the humility and integrity is extremely, extremely important. Don't try to take a shortcut just because you're hurting, right? And we see example of that all the time, right? Recently we were in a client situation where we did this work and we told the client, guys, we've done this work because we wanted to make sure that your project is successful. The work is already done. We know that you could not approve it in advance because we didn't have time. It's okay for you not to pay for that work. We will not feel bad. because we wanted to make sure we are working in the best interest of the project. But then guess what happened over the weekend? We had a call, I think Friday before that, or the weekend they thought about it. On Monday said, we believe you guys, we're going to approve everything. All I'm trying to say is that if you're honest, you're working with integrity, lows and highs, everything would be just fine, right? Don't get that elements of ego just because you're on high. Don't get depressed just because you're low.
Excellent. Well said, Vipinji. I would like to add, in addition to the, add some couple of one, you said don't lose the focus and working like a laser on the problem. And most of the times, what kind of, wakes me up is there's nothing like a over communication. So you may be doing very good job. At the same time, if you're not communicating enough to your clients, you're not communicating enough to your employees, you're not communicating enough to your investors, your suppliers, complete the ecosystem of stakeholders. So that can be the one I feel, in addition to what Bipinji said, being honest and take care of the problems in the beginning, not at the later. It's not like a taxes or pay now or pay later, but you have to, if you don't pay now, you'll pay more later. So better to attack the problem now. Thank you.
And to add on to that, I think, well, because I'm still young, so everything still keeps me up at night, to be honest. But as Bipinji and Sridharji have said, I think the most important thing is to be transparent and update everyone respectively. Like communication is a very key aspect of whatever venture you're doing. And I feel like if you just keep working and just give your best effort, involving your entire team as partners and not like subordinates or anyone, I think you can sleep well at night, to be honest.
Thank you all for those wonderful answers. And most importantly, we have now concluding our session. Thank you so much to Sridharji, Bipinji, and Sumantji for coming on as panelists tonight. We truly appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for giving opportunity, Hindu YUVA, all the Karyakartas, all the volunteers, an excellent job. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mani Nandaji, for your blessings.
It is an incredible honor to see Dr. Nanda available here. It's just such an humbling experience for me every time I'm in his presence. Also want to thank this team. Everything which you guys are doing, from the concept of YUVA and organizing this webinar and bringing people together, it is incredible. It's a very humbling experience for me. And continuing that work is important. Anytime, as Dr. Nanda had said, that anytime you guys, you need a sounding board for whatever you are working on, feel free to reach out to Satishji, Sumanji, and that, and we'll do what we can to make sure you get to the next level. But thank you for giving your time to be here. That means you are very sincere and serious about what you're trying to do. So I really is honored to be able to participate in this effort. Thank you so much.
Sumant, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I'm sincerely honored to be part of this as well. Nandaji is such a huge influence on my life, and of course, Sridharji, Bipinji have been nothing but true mentors for me, especially ever since I started my first venture as an investment manager. Just everything I encounter and learn is something new. And even though I've been in this business for a year or two now, I'm still learning so many new things. And just keep going, basically.
Well, thank you so much for letting us pick your brain. And as always, Mani Nandaji, thank you for your presence on this Zoom call and live session webinar. Now, one thing, as I promised in the introduction, a little blurb about the Hindu Seva and our helpline, Student Support Network helpline. So Hindu YUVA, Bharatiyam, Vivekananda House, along with Seva International, have launched a Student Support Network helpline. Due to the current situation, the current pandemic due to COVID-19, which has impacted many of us tragically, the international student community specifically has faced various challenges. Now, this helpline aims to provide support in various ways, including immigration issues, flights through and here from India or anywhere else in the world, accompaniment, mental health resources, delivery of essentials like groceries and medication, and webinars like this today. So if you or someone who knows needs help, please do not hesitate to reach out and call the Student Support Network helpline at 802-750-9882. This information will also be available once this webinar is uploaded. Now, I just want to say thank you so much to the Hindu YUVA team. It was a pleasure working with them. I'm just a face here tonight, but there's a lot of people in the back who made this event possible, and I cannot thank them enough. Thank you so much to our panelists again, Sridharji, Bipinji, and Sumanji. Thank you so much for your time, and Mananandavji for coming on this presentation tonight. I'm Satvik Saini. It was a pleasure being your host tonight. Thank you all. Till next time.
Thank you.